Hey guys, so my TikTok page and my Instagram page have been going viral lately. I've had up to 800K views on some of the videos that I've posted. And I wanted to give a little bit more personalized story because most of the content is child-free content. And usually me making reactions to videos about being child-free. And so I just kind of wanted to come on here and give my personalized story to anyone who hasn't heard it before. And I'm going to give you 5 reasons why I'm not having kids. And I have a short form of this video that I'm going to be releasing too. But I will give you 5 good reasons why I'm not having kids. And you do have to understand that I've worked with kids my whole life. I've helped raise kids that aren't mine, and I still chose this. So these are the reasons why I will never stop talking about this, and I'll get to that more later. But there are too many women out here who think that having children and motherhood is a requirement and their only purpose in life. And I'm here along with so many other child-free people to say that that's not true, and you can find purpose and meaning without kids. And I know for myself, I've had a lot of moms who comment, well, you'll never know unconditional love until you have a child. And the truth is, I know unconditional love from my husband. I know unconditional love from my 2 fur babies and my 2 baby dogs that I love with all my heart. And so I would push back on that and say, yes, I do know unconditional love. I don't need to have some of my DNA running around in the world to know what love feels like, because to me, there are so many kids who are unloved and unwanted in this world. And if more parents were honest about the reality of having kids and how hard it is and how financially, physically, emotionally draining it can be, then I think there would be less unwanted kids in the world. So my first reason why I don't want kids, I'm going to start with my disability, because that's a huge reason why I full stop decided I do not want kids. I have quite a few mental disabilities, and I'm not cognitively impaired or anything, but I have like 5 to 6 psychiatric illnesses, and I've been hospitalized 4 times in the last 8 years. And so I had to really think about what my disability would limit me doing. And for one, sleep deprivation can cause serious mood swings or even psychosis with my diagnosis. So there's absolutely no way I would be able to be up with a baby at all hours of the night. And I don't think it's fair to my husband to put the full responsibility of that on him. He works so much, and I know that he doesn't want to do that. So for me, I can't be sleep deprived for my illness at all. It causes really bad days for me. Also, I do have really extremely bad days with my illness. It's an up and down type of journey. And when on the bad days of my illness, it is extremely hard for me to push through those bad days. If I had to push through a bad day to take care of a living being that was needing me 24/7, I honestly would not survive. Like, I have to take medication to get me out of a bad day, and most of the time I end up going to sleep on a bad day and just hoping for another good day the next day. And that's how I get through it. And it's not perfect, and it's messy, and it's hard, but the thought of doing this with a child, 10 times worse. The second one is my nanny experience. So clearly I've had a decade of professional childcare experience, anywhere from newborns to teenagers. And honestly, I can tell you, I have seen it all. I've been spit up on. I've had to change diapers. I've had even even homework from elementary school students that confused me, and I clearly can't do fourth grade math anymore. Like, God knows elementary school was 20 years away or 30 years away or however long that works. So for me, I am not cut out to educate a child. I'm not cut out to grow that child from a baby to an adult. I spent so many years on the floor playing with toys, with babies, and oh my God, it gives me PTSD. Just the sound of their TV shows, like the noises, like it's absolutely overstimulating. I could never do it. I only did it part-time. Well, sometimes I had full-time jobs, but that's never really full-time. You still give them back at the end of the night or at the end of the day. And so, I've never had to be a mom full-time, and I really couldn't do it full-time. It would be an absolute no for me. And my experience gave me the reality of what childcare is and the job of motherhood, because so many people forget that being a mother is a job. It's a role that you take on. And some people like their kids, but they hate the job. And so find out, my advice to everybody is have some kind of childcare experience. Have some kind of nanny experience, daycare, taking care of someone's kids overnight. Do that before you decide to have kids, because those kids do not need for you to figure out you do not like the job of motherhood after having them. They don't deserve that. So figure out before if the job is right for you. My third reason, so sometimes some of you guys know this, some of you guys don't, but I have been a part-time mom raising 2 stepkids since I was 26 years old. I'm 34 now, and I love those kids. I really do, but part-time is all I could ever do. And my husband has taken on the primary responsibility of raising them from a young age, and now they're, in the teenage years. And so I was never responsible for the cooking and the cleaning and the bedtime routines and the shower routines and the bath time routines and the nighttime routines. I was never responsible for any of that. I was not responsible for getting them to school or to doctor's appointments or to anything like that. I obviously had a disability before I got with my husband, and it was around the time I was diagnosed that I did get with my husband, and he did take care of me completely, which is what I needed so badly, was for someone to just take care of me. I had had such an unloved childhood, such an unloved life, and he was able to give me a soft life of someone always being there by my side through everything that I went through. But that being said, I realized that if I were to have a baby at this point in life, it would feel like going back in time. I really struggled with my disability, just listening to the TV shows and the sounds of children. And I would be balled up in the kitchen, just going through disassociation, going through, an episode, not feeling well, crying and trying to hide it from the kids. And I literally tried to hide my illness from the kids for so long. And even their little brains, they can't comprehend a mental health crisis. They don't know how to understand that. So as much as I tried to explain, it was not something that they could fully grasp at that age. And so there was a lot of ups and downs with that. And I realized that if I struggle even part-time with that, I should never do it full-time, never. So I decided to never do that full-time. I'm never gonna birth a baby out of my vagina. I'm never going to have a child. I'm never going to raise a child from 0 to 18. Never going to happen for me. I've had enough of motherhood through other people's kids that I am completely good on that. Number 4, I mentioned this earlier, but just bodily autonomy alone, because when you have kids under 5, they're pulling on you, touching on you, newborns grab your hair all the time, toddlers will grab your hair, you're constantly being touched, whether that's breastfeeding or whether that's just your baby running and clinging onto you, you're constantly being touched by another living being. And with my disability, I have a weird thing about touch. I'm very sensitive to touch. I'm very sensitive to overstimulation of touch or even overstimulation of sounds like I was mentioning earlier. So TV shows and YouTube and movies and even short videos on the phone, in the car, it's too much. I can't do too many overstimulating sensory sounds or noises or touching. And so for me, I might be on the spectrum of autism because it runs in my family, and my nephew is autistic, my brother may be autistic, and my sister is definitely diagnosed autistic. So for me, I feel like the sensory elements of, the sounds and the touching, like that would aggravate me so much. I cannot do that. So number 5 is personal for me. Okay, so I posted a video about this not too long ago, but I did grow up in a cult, in a Christian cult, and that cult was preaching to young girls that their only purpose in life was to have a baby and get married and be fruitful and multiply. And so when I was a young teen, that was being preached to me to get pregnant. And I remember being a young teen looking at all the other teenagers in a stadium that we were in. I went to a second cult because I was trying to get out of my parents' house because they were abusive. So I went from one cult to the other because they approved of the second cult and I was allowed to move there. And so this cult in particular was really crazy. They would lay on top of graves of dead people and try to get superpowers and try to read people's minds and just all of this crazy stuff. It was just super chaotic, super dramatic. And they would literally preach to stadiums of young teenagers that it didn't matter who you married, you need to get married and have children. And that's your only purpose, is to be fruitful and multiply and grow the earth. First of all, there's 8.3 billion people in the world. There's 2 births per woman at this time. I think humanity is not going to go extinct. I think these cults want to grow their individual members. And the best way to do that is to treat women like incubators. And as more people join the church, that's more tithe money, that's more money going into the cult and the operations. And so there's definitely reasons why they preach this, and it has nothing to do with morality or the right way to live. It has nothing to do with that. What it has to do with is control over women's bodies, just as always the patriarchy is about. It's control over women's bodies, and it's about controlling women and children to be subservient to men, and for the men to be the leader of the house and the women to take care of the children and be domestic. And I saw that lifestyle and it was like instant repel, like absolutely not for me. I will never find myself in that situation. And thankfully to God, I have never found myself in that situation where you are either a single parent in a married relationship doing all the work, or you're in a married relationship with kids doing all the work, or you're just married and you're doing all the work. Like whichever one it is, Thank God I have never been in that situation. I've always had equal rights in my relationships, and we both pitch in and we both do what needs to be done. And so I don't like traditional roles. I have always rejected that. And I think that even as a young girl, my intuition was telling me that something was off about these teachings, that it became a fear for me of ever getting pregnant. I never wanted to get pregnant. So I stayed on birth control for a long time. I'm still on birth control, and they say you can be on the pill all the way up until menopause. The birth control actually balances my hormones a lot, which helps with a lot of different things. It helps with intimacy. It helps with not having so many periods. I have one every 3 months now instead of one every month, and I love that. It also helps because when my hormones are off and they're not consistent, I can have mood swings and episodes because of my mental health. My first diagnosis was actually PMDD, which is, it's a disorder that basically your hormones give you mood swings and episodes up to psychosis the week before your period starts. And when I had my first psychosis 8 years ago, it was the minute that I was taken to the hospital, I started my period. So my hormones and my mental illness are related. And so I thought about surgery. I thought about getting my tubes tied, but I would still need the hormones to balance me out every day. And on top of that, my husband is probably going to get a vasectomy soon. So all of those are good things. So I'm not child-free because I don't know what I'm missing, okay? I have the experience. I've done the job. I know what it takes. I'm child-free because I would know exactly what I'm signing up for, and what I would be signing up for is not worth it for me. You can go ahead and you can weigh the pros and the cons in your mind and decide if it's worth it for you. I'm not telling you what to do, but for me, the pros and cons, the cons completely outweigh the pros, baby. It's just something that I can't do. So anyway, thanks for watching my video, you guys. If you have the time, check out my TikTok and my Instagram page. I'll put that below. And thank you so much for subscribing, and I will be back with more content.